Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. The worst creature that has ever been created by nature is the Bitcoin maxi troll. Nature, you dumb messed up. Now look, I believe in evolution, but evolution, you dumb messed up by creating the Bitcoin maxi troll. Listen to this. Bitcoin maximalists are pressuring politicians in Congress to create legislation that would, in some cases, outright ban every cryptocurrency that is not Bitcoin. I kid you not. I kid you not. And how do we know this? Thanks to Charles Hoskinson, who is the founder of Cardano and also a co-founder of Ethereum. He's the gentleman on your screen right here. There's a YouTube video that's on your screen for those of you not looking. This was a live stream from yesterday, and he titled this "Update from Washington." So he was out in Washington. I listened to this whole thing. It's almost 27 minutes long. And the primary topic covered here was legislation and what we can do just as a crypto industry, the blockchain industry, to move forward and get the regulatory clarity in the United States that we so severely need and deserve. That's what the thrust of this video was about. But for the last 5 minutes or so, he got into what the Bitcoin maxi trolls out there are doing to try and sabotage the rest of the industry. So that'd be XRP, that'd be Ethereum, that would be Cardano, proof of stake coins specifically. It's just an outright attack on these terrible creatures that nature should not have made. Bitcoin, legislation, other crypto, zero. Miss freaking Bitcoin maxi trolls. Ain't got no damn time for them up in this bitch. But I'm going to share with you what Charles Hoskinson had to say, and I'll tell you this. I don't know exactly everything that Charles Hoskinson thinks about Ripple and XRP. I don't know if he's a fan, generally speaking, but I will say this. He has always struck me as an individual who is intellectually honest, meaning that even if there's something that would be a fact that would be not favorable towards a position that he holds, he strikes me as the type of person that would acknowledge that rather than deny it or try and sweep it under the rug. That's the type of person that I value. I don't like having dishonest people in my life. I want to surround myself in my own personal life with people that I trust. And so I appreciate when I come across people, even though I've never met him, never talked to him ever, I appreciate the fact that he is, at least so far as I can tell, and again, having never met him, the way he speaks, he strikes me as intellectually honest. He's one of the few outside of the XRP community that has acknowledged that XRP is not a security, in fact. And so again, I don't even know that he's necessarily a fan of Ripple and or XRP, but he recognizes that. And he also has fair critiques that I think are reasonable. He doesn't seem to like the distribution, and I don't have a problem necessarily with all aspects of the distribution. Actually, maybe I do with some of them, to be honest with you. But that's reasonable. It's a reasonable dispute, so I'm fine with that. So anyway, I'm going to share with you what he had to say, but before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. So let's go ahead and dive in right here. So here is what Charles Hoskinson had to say, and this was towards the last 5 minutes or so of this roughly 27-minute update from Washington. He said the following. I did discover that certain members of the Bitcoin community are actively telling lawmakers to write into legislation that everything but Bitcoin is a security. To write into legislation every attempt possible to delegitimize or outright ban proof-of-stake cryptocurrencies. This was extremely disappointing and disheartening. I like to believe that despite that, we may have political differences or technological differences or differing financial incentives, that we would fight these things in the marketplace of ideas, in the marketplace of users, and traditional competition. The attempt to co-opt the U.S. federal government and legislative process to ban your competition is anathema to every single thing the Bitcoin movement was founded upon. This is the behavior of multinational banks. It's not the behavior of people who came from libertarian principles and free market principles. It's disgusting. It's reprehensible, and it's unbelievable that people would tell the staff of members of Congress and Senate to do these things. Saw the messages, saw the emails, heard it from many different sources, and we know who you are. So it's childish. It doesn't really have much of an impact, and frankly, it delegitimizes the people saying and doing it. But it does show that our industry has a long way to go. I'm going to give a full-on clap right there for Mr. Hoskinson for bringing this to the public's attention. Now, he hasn't shared, at least to this point, who the individuals are, and maybe he's not going to, which I could certainly respect if he doesn't want to go down that route. I understand. I'm curious, and I think it would be worthwhile to know for people operating in crypto, because that helps us to figure out who we can actually trust in life, which I think is of the utmost importance just in life in general. To me, I'm all about intellectual honesty, and I love diversity of thought. That's fine, which is why I've said many times, if somebody doesn't like XRP, even though it's my favorite cryptocurrency, to me, that does not make them my enemy. They could say that I think XRP is a garbage coin, and as long as they're not being outright mean or trolly about it, if they're just saying this is my honest opinion, then I'll say, okay, respectfully disagree, and here's why. And we can maybe even have an adult conversation at that point. I just don't like the shutting down of all sorts of competition. If you're a Bitcoin maximalist, so your coin is the least technologically advanced, by the way, you little Bitcoin maxi trolls out there, it's the least technologically advanced, and it's number one in market cap purely because it was the first. And maybe it persists purely because it was the first, but let's be honest. If it does persist, that's the reason why. Purely because it was the first mover, first cryptocurrency ever to exist. But my gosh, if you're actually so confident that your beloved Bitcoin is the one and only, and it is the savior, it is the Messiah, then why do you feel so insecure? Why do you feel the need to shut down competition? Why do you need to shut down all the other cryptocurrencies on the planet that exist? Where's your real? You don't have confidence. Maybe you are scared. Maybe you're really just bad people. I don't know what your rationale is. This is not good. This is repulsive and disgusting. And here's another quote from Charles Hoskinson. He said this a little bit later. And it was all in the last 5 minutes, but that's what he said. And then towards the very tail end, he said the following. And I transcribed this as well. He said, "The fact that maximalism has gotten to the point where dirty tricks are being played, and people are trying to convince politicians now to encode maximalist principles into United States law is another example of the fractious nature and the childish nature and the immature and irresponsible nature of some members of this industry. I think we can all be better." I firmly agree with that. I'll give you another clap for that. That's for damn sure. But when you think about it like that, the way that he just worded that, they're trying to enshrine into U.S. law. They're trying to literally encode maximalist principles into United States law. They want maximalism, as repulsive as it is, to be the law of the land. And most people in crypto and most people in the Bitcoin community are not maximalists. But there are a lot of maximalists, just because there's a lot of people in crypto, relatively speaking, of course. These people, they are impossible. They're not grounded in facts. They're not grounded in reality. They're grounded in ideology. Whatever they want, that's what should be. That's who these people are. And I'm sick of it. They are the worst creatures that nature accidentally ever made. And again, I believe in evolution. So I'm just saying, in that sense, nature doesn't make mistakes, right? Survival of the fittest, all that. I no longer believe in it. Maybe I don't believe in evolution anymore. I think that the fact that Bitcoin maxi trolls exist, I throw it at Darwin. You were wrong. You're complete. Start from scratch. Go back to the drawing board. Clearly, the fact that these Bitcoin maxi trolls exist, clear evidence, if there ever were any, that survival of the fittest and natural selection, all that, it's not real. But God. But take a look at this. Look, and again, I think that Charles Hoskinson, I think he's a stand-up guy from what I've seen anyway. I just think, again, like I said, I do think he's being intellectually honest. And again, that doesn't mean he's a fan of Ripple or XRP. In fact, I haven't seen anything to that effect. I think he's just being honest. He said some stuff that we in the XRP community would like. In fact, I'll share some of it with you. Take a look at this. This is from the Daily Hodl. This was 5 days after the SEC sued Ripple, claiming they were selling XRP as an unregistered security. There's this piece titled, "Cardano creator says XRP is not a security, but its distribution may be problematic. Cardano creator Charles Hoskinson is weighing in on the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's case against Ripple and the agency's assertion that XRP is an unregistered security. In a series of Ask Me Anything videos, Hoskinson says part of the problem with regulating crypto assets is that tokens are dynamic and hard to categorize. And here's a quote. The problem with cryptocurrencies is they do everything and nothing. And some days they look like securities. Some days they look like commodities. Some days they look like currencies, and some days they look like something else entirely. In many ways, cryptocurrencies are the stem cells of finance. A stem cell is like a supercell, and basically, it can become a heart cell or a brain cell or so forth. And regulation is a little difficult because more often than not, regulators like buckets. So they don't see stem cells, they see the heart cells and the brain cells, and then there's regulatory agencies connected to that system, end quote. Yeah, and so to me, that actually makes a lot of sense because cryptocurrencies can be used for all sorts of things by all different people and all sorts of different businesses, all sorts of different use cases. And depending on the way that it's being used, and even distribution is a factor in all this, obviously, when you factor everything in, it can look like a lot of different things. Whereas if you're talking about a company issuing stock, historically, it's very clear that isn't a bucket. You know, that's a security. Unregistered or registered, that's a security, right? But if you're talking about cryptocurrencies, it's certainly suddenly much less clear because it can be a ton of different things. Piece continues. At this point in XRP's 8-year history, Hoskinson says he does not believe it is a security, although its status may have been different in its early days. And here's a quote from him. In my prior statements, I said I don't think XRP is a security, and I think in its current form, its current use, and the level of decentralization the ecosystem has, that's certainly true. Was Ripple a security at some point during its life? I'm sure a fair argument could be made. End quote. And so look, I'll share with you something. I've said this maybe 2 or 3 times on the channel ever. I brought up this point for the first time before the lawsuit occurred. It was probably back at some point in 2019 would be my guess. And I wasn't sure if people are going to get upset with me, but I just said it. It was like, because the moment I can't say my honest thoughts on this channel is the moment I no longer want to run this channel. So I just said something, and I still think it's true. I said, look, I get it. If somebody issues a cryptocurrency, you know, you've got a central authority there, it's easier to make the case that that maybe that's a satisfying prong of the Howey test effectively. And I didn't know to word it quite like that in terms of the Howey prongs because we didn't have the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit at that point. I've learned a lot more since then, admittedly. But I was just recognizing if having a company distribute a coin makes it a security, if that is indeed the case, then I said, how could this be a loophole that Ripple actually gets away with? I brought this up back in I think it was 2019, because I said if it's the case that you can have individuals create a cryptocurrency, then they go create the company, then move the coin to the company, and now it's okay, that's a loophole. And so I just said, like, if that's the fact, if that's the sole reason, why would Ripple get away with that? Now, again, that doesn't mean that I think that XRP ever was a security. I'm not even making that. We can have a different conversation a different day about that. But there are actually more factors to it. I'm just saying in terms of that one individual fact. That is something to consider, because if that's all it takes is form the company after you create it, okay. But there are a lot of other considerations, obviously. So the reason I wanted to share this is because when he says that there's a fair argument to be made, you can make the argument. It doesn't mean that I'm saying that I do believe XRP was a security back then. And frankly, I don't believe that any cryptocurrency, by the nature of it existing, is a cryptocurrency. But if you're talking about in the way that it was distributed by Ripple in those days, did it meet the 4 prongs of the Howey test? Well, certainly it would have. He's right. It would have been much easier to make those arguments back then. I'm not sure they could be satisfied. So again, I'm not ceding the point to the SEC, to be clear. I'm just saying that if you're being openly honest, you're being intellectually honest, how could you come to any other conclusion? So I do agree with him on that. And so I remember the first time I said it on the channel, I was like, I don't know if people are going to like me anymore, but it was very well received. People are just, not everybody agreed with me. A lot of people did. And I appreciate that there's some thoughtful discourse on that in the comment section. I was like, cool. I was like, all right, you guys are awesome. I get to say what I think and you don't hate me. Badass. And then the piece continues. Hoskinson says he questions whether the way the digital asset has been distributed is an issue. And here's another quote from him. I believe that XRP is not a security, at least in the general sense. And I go back to that stem cell argument. There is certainly security-like behavior, and it's deeply puzzling to me, for example, in the age of smart contracts, why an actual real company would be responsible for distribution of a token. So pause. The critique is fair. And why would a company need to distribute? Well, if you want to be technical, again, it was created before XRP was created before Ripple existed. And here's the thing: once XRP moves from one recipient to another, it means it's issued. So understand, like, people will in the space will broadly and inaccurately state that not all XRP has been issued. That's not true, because Ripple didn't have it first. It's issued once it moves for the first time. It's not the fact that if Ripple holds XRP, it's not issued. Otherwise, does that mean that when Ripple buys XRP, it goes from being issued to unissued? Like, that's silly. That's a silly concept. That doesn't make any damn sense. But I'll say this. Proof of work, it was a beautiful invention for its time, okay? It solved the double spend problem. It was a mechanism for distribution. But if you have everything distributed at inception, which is ultimately what happened with XRP, if you don't have to worry about the distribution, that means it's really not necessary to have proof of work or proof of stake. You can have a different consensus mechanism altogether, which is what Ripple did. They did something outside the box, never been done before, where you don't need proof of work, you don't need proof of stake, and that's why it's blazing fast. It is fast as hell. Uses almost no energy. Real-time settlement. So it just uses a different consensus mechanism that, frankly, wouldn't be possible if you needed to distribute, if you needed to code in the distribution. The way that Ripple, or XRP rather, is set up, I don't think it would work. I don't think it would work. But the fact that you took the distribution out of the equation, it's no longer part of the model because it was just being distributed and given away for free, actually, in the earliest of days. All you got to worry about is verifying transactions on the blockchain. Well, that changed everything. So that was part of the special sauce. So now, yeah, we've got all these issues about, okay, well, was too much held on to? We have these arguments. Did the executives hold on to too much? Did Ripple hold on to too much? Well, again, conversation for another time. I have talked about these things before, but setting that aside, the technological perfection that is XRP, like, that's a big part of the reason it's capable of existing. So say what you will about the distribution, and nothing's perfect in life. I'd rather have this than a sloppy, slow blockchain that doesn't functionally work like Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin's store of value today, what else is it used for? Pretty much nothing. XRP, functionally useful because it's technologically superior. You wouldn't have that if you launched this thing in 2012 and you needed proof of work or proof of stake. That's all I'm saying. I'll wrap up there, though. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.